decided, look, I'm going to sign up for an MMA gym. I heard of this place in the city in Johannesburg, and I'm going to take classes, and I'll come back here and I'll try and teach you guys some of the techniques. Hey everyone, a bit of an informal video today, just going out for a walk. Nice quiet afternoon here in Dublin, Ireland. Yeah, that's where I live now, by the way. Origin from South Africa, some people may know, some people may not. I guess today I kind of want to just talk about how I kind of found my way into the sport of MMA, and it's something that kind of happened maybe organically. So the story goes, the year was 2008. I was about 19 years old at the time, and I was training in karate with a few friends. Well, a friend of mine actually cleared out a room above his garage, and it was like a decent sized space, about 20 square meters. So decent space for a few guys to training. And essentially we decided, look, we wanted to have a place where we could focus on just the combat aspect of karate, the kumite aspect, and those type of things, where we kind of could take a break from the dojo and not have to do the katas and not have to do the basics, just focus on the stuff we really enjoy. And yeah, so we started training regularly, focus on more like the kumite style point fighting karate. And I started having a conversation with my friends. We were three guys, just by the way, just three guys. And I was like, hey, you ever heard about this thing called MMA? And they're like, yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, with these guys like kind of fight in a cage. And I think at the time, one of the popular names people would know, I mean, when MMA wasn't that popular back then, but a few names people would still sort of talk about was Brock Lesnar, because he did a stint in WWE. I think George St. Pierre was still quite popular, and of course the likes of Forrest Griffin, because of the infamous Ultimate Fighter Ultimate Fighter 1 matchup. So we just started talking, and I was like, yeah, they do this thing called ground fighting, basically they wrestle each other to the ground, and the fight doesn't end there, like the fight just continues. And yeah, that kind of like inspired us, to dig a bit deeper into it. And it seemed like a really interesting concept, and something that we weren't really exposed to, obviously. Now, when I'm talking about 2008, listen, when I mentioned MMA, people were like, what the heck is that? And I had to try and explain it as, oh, which way, two guys get in the cage and they lock themselves in and they start fighting. And when people heard that, they were like, what? Like, are you crazy? Like who the heck does stuff like that? Who the heck wants to go and lock themselves into a cage and fight? Like, is that like, oh, two guys enter, one man leave type of thing? Do you fight to the death? All these weird folk tales start coming out from people's mouths, right? So as you can imagine, like, people thought we were crazy. Now, just to give a bit of background, I lived in a small town on the outskirts of the city of Johannesburg, and essentially there wasn't much sort of access to any combat sports other than karate, a bit of kickboxing maybe, but things like wrestling and all these other styles of martial arts, or more popular Olympic style judo, taekwondo, we didn't have access to those sports, right? So living in a small town on the outskirts of Johannesburg, very few people actually knew what the heck we were talking about. And so we wanted to train in MMA, we wanted to learn ground fighting, right? So what happens is, well, one of us, the guy who happens to have a decent job and earns a bit of a good salary, decided, look, I'm gonna sign up for an MMA gym. I heard of this place in the city in Johannesburg, and I'm gonna take classes, and I'll come back here and I'll try and teach you guys some of the techniques I learned. And so he does this. So he goes, he starts training, he comes back, and we all meet up, and I still remember the very first lesson I learned. And that was, well, you can guess it, the trap and roll, right? So someone sits on top of you in a mount position, and you escape by trapping the arm and rolling over. And I mean, the reaction I had was like, wow, this is amazing, you know, this stuff's insane. Getting a bit windy over here. Like this is the type of thing I need to be learning, you know. And yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And I was 19 at the time. I didn't have any money, and as you can imagine, speaking to friends and family about it, no one was going to fund that for me. They thought it was really crazy, a crazy idea altogether. So I decided, look, I kind of want to get a bit more formal kind of training now. So I kind of quit my studies at the time to get a job as an IT tech, right? And my entire mindset and plan at that time was just to earn enough of a salary, some money, so I can pay for fees, so I can pay for transport, or you know, pay for freaking taxi to get to the gym in the city. And that's kind of what I did. Like, I didn't have anything else. I didn't have a car at the time. I got this job, and when my first paycheck came through, I still remember when that very first paycheck came through, I got into a car, borrowed the car, did what I had to do, and I drove into Johannesburg, and I signed up at this MMA gym, which was actually at the time at a local community center, but they were running classes about 4 times a week. And the coach was a professional fighter. He had about 3 professional fights on his belt. And again, like I said, MMA was still a very new concept in South Africa, so someone with 3 fights under the belt, that's kind of like a big deal back then. And yeah, I got into that's how I started training. And I mean, just kind of trying to make the best of that, you know, given the circumstances. And for a lot of people, like, you know, I mean, for a lot of people, perhaps that was an easy thing, like signing up. But for me, it was a mission just to get to that point. And I was only getting started, like, you know. Also, there were quite a few concerns about my weight. So at that time, I weighed about 58 kilos, which is about like maybe 125 pounds. And that's really light. Like, for a guy, for a grown man, that's really light. And the concern was that I was too light to train with everyone else. The closest to my weight was probably like 165 pounds or 74, 75 kilograms. So as you can imagine, like, look, I have my work cut out for me. But that's kind of just the introduction of how I got started in MMA. My first encounters with grappling, and where the journey sort of began for me. It was I want to think it was very organic, just a group of guys really passionate about training and combat sports and martial arts, and you know, kind of talking about different stuff, and really trying to apply ourselves and actually go and try it. And looking back now, I mean, I don't really regret that, because I'm still training in these sports, MMA and BJJ, to an extent. And it was a sacrifice that had to be made at the time. Of course, now it's a lot easier. A lot of people back home in South Africa have access to gyms. There are a lot more gyms open. There are a lot more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belts and black belts. So yeah, that was just the beginning of my journey. A very, very long journey, as you can tell. I am now walking here, talking to you guys about this. So yeah, that was my sort of introduction into MMA, how I kind of got into the sport at that time. And yeah, I'll probably will continue the story at another time, talk about how I coped with the training, how I sort of had to deal with being maybe the lighter guy always in the gym. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and take care. Goodbye.